Sarah took the photograph, studying her grandmother's face. Eleanor was laughing in the picture, her silver hair catching the sunlight, her eyes crinkled with joy. The blue cardigan was clearly visible, with its pearl buttons and slightly worn cuffs. A sound from the floor made both women look down. Emma had gone completely still. The 9-month-old was sitting upright, staring at the photograph in Sarah's hand, with an intensity that seemed impossible for someone so young. Then, slowly and deliberately, Emma raised her tiny hand and pointed at Eleanor's image. "Gamma," Emma said clearly. "Gamma." The room fell into absolute silence. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. Emma hadn't said any words yet, not mama or dada or any of the typical first words. But she'd just spoken, clearly, pointing at a woman she'd never met, a woman who'd been dead for over a year. "Sarah?" Margaret's voice was barely a whisper. "Did she just—" "Gamma," Emma repeated, more insistently this time. She began to crawl toward Sarah, reaching for the photograph with both hands. When Sarah, moving as if in a trance, lowered the picture, Emma pressed her palm against Eleanor's face and smiled. The kind of smile that spoke of recognition, of love, of connection. Then Emma looked up at the empty space beside Sarah's chair and waved, that enthusiastic, uncoordinated wave of a baby greeting someone beloved. Margaret gasped. Sarah felt tears spring to her eyes, though she couldn't explain why. The air in the kitchen seemed to shift, to warm, and for just a moment, the briefest fraction of a second, Sarah could have sworn she smelled her grandmother's perfume. Lavender and vanilla, the scent that had clung to Eleanor's hugs and filled her house with comfort. That night, after Margaret had left and David had put Emma to bed, Sarah found herself in the nursery once again. She sat in the rocking chair they'd bought before Emma was born, watching her daughter sleep in the soft glow of the nightlight. Emma's breathing was even and peaceful, her small chest rising and falling with perfect rhythm. "Mom?" Sarah spoke into the darkness, feeling foolish but compelled. "Grandma Eleanor, if you're here, if this is real, I don't know what to say." The rain had returned, gentler this time, creating a soothing soundtrack against the windows. Sarah pulled a blanket around her shoulders and continued, her voice breaking. "I miss you so much. I wish you could have met her. I wish she could know you the way I did. Your stories, your laugh, the way you made everything feel safe." Tears rolled down Sarah's cheeks. "But maybe she does know you. Maybe that's what this is." A sound made Sarah look up. Emma had stirred in her sleep, and as Sarah watched, a smile spread across her daughter's face. Not the random grimaces of infant sleep, but a genuine, warm smile. Emma's tiny hand opened and closed, as if holding something, or as if someone was holding it. That night, as Sarah tucked Emma into bed, her daughter looked up at her with those ocean-blue eyes, so much wiser than 5 years should allow. "Mama," Emma whispered, "Gamma says she has to go soon. She says I'm getting too big, and I won't be able to see her much longer." Sarah's throat tightened. She'd known this was coming, but the reality of it still hurt. "What else did she say, sweetheart?" Emma smiled, that radiant smile that made everything worthwhile. "She says not to be sad. She says she's always going to be with us, even when we can't see her. And she says to tell you—" Emma paused, concentrating hard to remember the words. "She says to tell you that she's proud of you, that you're doing everything right, that being a mama is the most important thing you'll ever do, and you're doing it with so much love." The tears came then, flowing freely down Sarah's face. Those were Eleanor's words, the exact advice she'd given Sarah years ago, before Emma was born, before the cancer had taken her. words no 5-year-old could fabricate. "Thank you, baby," Sarah whispered, kissing Emma's forehead. "Thank you for sharing Gamma with me." That night, Sarah dreamed of her grandmother. They sat together in Eleanor's old garden, surrounded by blooming roses and singing birds. Eleanor looked young and healthy, wearing her beloved blue cardigan. "You've done well with her," Eleanor said, taking Sarah's hand. "She's going to be something special, that one. She has a gift, the ability to see beyond what others see, to believe in what others doubt. Don't let the world take that away from her." "I won't," Sarah promised. "But I'm going to miss you. We both will." Eleanor smiled, the same smile Emma had inherited. "Oh, sweet girl, you can't miss someone who never really leaves. I'm in every story you tell her, every tradition you pass down, every moment of love you share. That's how we stay alive, through the people we love and who love us in return." When Sarah woke, sunlight was streaming through her bedroom window, and she could hear Emma giggling downstairs with David. The scent of lavender and vanilla lingered faintly in the air, and Sarah knew, with a certainty that transcended understanding, that her grandmother's love would remain with them always. Some bonds, she had learned, are too strong for death to break, and some little girls are born with the extraordinary gift of reminding the rest of us that love, in its purest form, is eternal. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Share your own experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories about the mysterious, beautiful moments that remind us there's more to this world than we can see. Thank you for being part of our community, and remember, the people we love never truly leave us.
The mobile above the crib began to spin, though there was no breeze, no reason for it to move. The fabric animals danced in lazy circles, and Sarah felt something settle in her chest, a peace she hadn't experienced since her grandmother's death. A certainty that defied logic and reason. Eleanor was here. She had always been here. The years that followed brought their own magic and challenges. Emma grew into a bright, imaginative toddler who spoke often about Gamma, describing her in detail that matched Eleanor perfectly, down to the mole on her left hand and her habit of humming old jazz standards. David, ever the skeptic, eventually stopped trying to explain it away. Some things, he learned, existed beyond balance sheets and logic. Sarah documented everything. She wrote down Emma's stories about Gamma, the games they played, the songs Eleanor taught her. When Emma was 3, she drew a picture of a woman in a blue cardigan standing beside her crib. "Gamma watches me sleep," Emma explained matter-of-factly. "She makes sure the scary things stay away." By the time Emma turned 4, the visits became less frequent. Eleanor appeared mainly during difficult moments, when Emma had nightmares, when she was sick with fever, when she needed comfort that only a great-grandmother's spirit could provide. Sarah understood. As children grew, the veil thickened. The connection to that other place, wherever it was, began to fade. But the love remained. That never faded. On Emma's 5th birthday, Sarah set up an extra chair at the party table. The other parents thought it was sweet, a place for an imaginary friend perhaps. Only Margaret knew the truth, and she placed a small bouquet of lavender there, her eyes misty with understanding. The incidents continued. At 6 months old, Emma would burst into giggles while sitting in her high chair, her eyes following something invisible as it moved around the kitchen. She'd clap her chubby hands and squeal with delight at empty air, while Sarah and David exchanged worried glances over their morning coffee. "Maybe we should talk to the pediatrician," David suggested one morning, his voice careful. He was an accountant, a man who lived in a world of numbers and logic, and his daughter's behavior unsettled him in ways he couldn't articulate. "And tell him what?" Sarah replied, wiping mashed banana from Emma's chin. "That our daughter is happy? That she smiles at empty rooms? They'll think we're paranoid first-time parents." But Sarah was worried too. She'd started researching online, falling down rabbit holes of parenting forums and articles about child development. Most sources assured her it was normal. Babies had vivid imaginations, they were learning to focus their eyes, they found joy in the simplest things. Yet something in Sarah's gut told her this was different. The breaking point came on a gray afternoon in March. Sarah's mother, Margaret, had come to visit, bringing with her a box of old family photographs she'd been organizing. They sat at the kitchen table while Emma played on a blanket on the floor, surrounded by soft toys and board books. Margaret pulled out photo after photo, narrating the family history with the enthusiasm of someone who'd lived through it all. "Oh, this one!" Margaret held up a faded color photograph from the 1970s. "This was your grandmother Eleanor at my wedding. Look how young she was, only 53. She wore that blue cardigan she loved so much."
The baby who remembered everything. The nursery was painted in soft shades of cream and lavender, with tiny stars scattered across the ceiling that glowed faintly in the darkness. Outside, the November rain tapped gently against the window, creating a rhythm that seemed to lull the world into stillness. But inside that quiet room, something extraordinary was happening, something that would change the Henderson family forever. Emma Henderson was 3 months old, with eyes the color of deep ocean water and wispy blonde hair that stuck up in impossible directions no matter how much her mother tried to smooth it down. She lay in her crib, wide awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the mobile above her head. The fabric elephants and giraffes spun slowly in the dim glow of the nightlight, casting dancing shadows on the walls. But Emma wasn't watching the mobile. She was watching her grandmother. Not the grandmother who lived 20 minutes away and visited every Sunday with homemade cookies. No, this was her great-grandmother Eleanor, who had passed away 6 months before Emma was born. Eleanor stood beside the crib, her form translucent like morning mist, wearing the blue cardigan she'd loved so much in life. Her silver hair was pinned back the way Emma's mother, Sarah, remembered from old photographs. "Sweet girl," Eleanor whispered, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You can see me, can't you?" Emma cooed softly, her tiny fist reaching upward toward the shimmering figure. Her fingers passed through Eleanor's outstretched hand, but somehow, impossibly, Emma seemed content, as if she understood something the rest of the world had forgotten. Sarah Henderson woke to the sound of her daughter's soft babbling. It wasn't crying, just the gentle sounds babies make when they're talking to themselves, or so she thought. Exhausted from months of sleepless nights, Sarah stumbled down the hallway, her husband David still snoring in their bedroom. The house was cold, and she pulled her robe tighter around her shoulders. When she pushed open the nursery door, she found Emma wide awake, smiling up at the ceiling and moving her arms as if reaching for something. Sarah's heart clenched with that overwhelming love that still surprised her. How could such a tiny person hold her entire world in those small, perfect hands? "What are you looking at, baby girl?" Sarah whispered, lifting Emma from the crib. The infant immediately nestled into her mother's chest, but her eyes remained fixed on the empty corner of the room, tracking something Sarah couldn't see. A chill ran down Sarah's spine, not from cold, but from memory. Her grandmother Eleanor used to say that babies could see things adults couldn't. "They're still close to wherever they came from," Eleanor would say with a knowing smile.
Sarah had always dismissed it as superstition, the kind of folk wisdom passed down through generations without any real meaning. But standing there in the pre-dawn darkness, with her daughter staring so intently at nothing, she wondered.